as soon as it starts. So that ding means it's time to talk about Discovery Education, and this is our virtual training on that Discovery Education virtual training. In our Discovery virtual training, we're going to talk about how to set up your Discovery classroom, search for relevant content, save to your quick list, also a couple of different places that you can actually save to, create slides in the studio, and how eventually you can assign stuff directly to students once they're all in your classroom. So that is what we will be talking about in today's training. So let's get right into it. I'm going to open up here our Discovery Education. Let me make this full screen. Here we go. So here's our Discovery Education. And this is now able to sign in with Google. And if you've never signed in before, it's going to look a little bit different. I'll show you what that screen is going to look like when you first sign in to Discovery Education. So I go ahead and click my Google sign in. It's going to take me in. Now this is accessible either through the Snap on our website, or the Herkimer Elementary or High School Library website, or you can go directly to Discovery Education. And like I said, it's going to look a little different the first time you sign in. That's going to look a little bit like the screen I'm going to show you here. This is my personalization screen. The first time you enter, it's going to ask you to fill out this stuff. And it's just really so it can find you relevant information. I have 6 to 8, but you know what? Maybe some of my 6th graders aren't reading at a 6th grade level, so I might want to think 3-5 because I wouldn't want to preclude them. Same thing if you have 3-5 or K2 kids, maybe go up a level because perhaps in the future you'll have some very advanced kids that will be able to handle some of that stuff. All the different sorts of things that you can click on here. If you can see, I've got these relevant things bubbled to me. I can always go back under my profile and add some different things. And then it'll ask you to save. And there's maybe 1 or 2 different screens that you will see, and that'll be able to take you to the home page that we're going to see here. And anytime you get lost, you can always click the little D with the earth here, and that'll bring you back to the home page, which is going to look just like this. The one thing you will not have, you won't have this black button in your Discovery. That's just for admin stuff. That's for adding students and taking care of all that sort of stuff. Your first one should be by subject, by standard. This is where we're going to search for content. Then there's my content. That is going to be stuff that you upload. The studio is basically like a classroom billboard that you can assign to kids. You can have a whole bunch of different posts up. I'll show you a couple examples of those. You can do an assessment builder, your classrooms. Then over here in the green, we have what's known as the Educator Network, where you can connect with other teachers, or you can make contacts. You can become a Discovery star, a whole bunch of different little things that you can have done. You can join events, whatnot. There's instructional strategies and professional learning. So we're going to search for relevant content. First up, we're a first-time user. What I want to do is I just kind of want to see what's out there. And the thing that Discovery was most known for was their videos. They have some great videos on here. So I can go by subject or by standard. If I go by subject, obviously I picked my interests, so my interests are going to be towards the top. You may have a different screen depending on what your interests are. I've got science, language arts, mathematics, social studies, health, careers and workplace skills. I tend to like to look in these because that is what I do with STEM. So over here, I've got a full video, All-Star Virtual Field Trip. They do virtual field trips every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern live, and they do record them. So you can go back and nab the video whenever you want to view them or send them to your students. So here it is. Here's the video. I can play and view it, which is the entire video, which is 27 minutes and 16 seconds long. They also break them up into segments, so you can watch different segments or assign different segments to your students at different times. Perhaps you know your students don't have the greatest attention span. You could do a 6-minute, 5-minute video, have them do an assignment, then go back to the video, interact, talk about it, whatever.
Where did you find those virtual field trips?
Okay, so right now all I'm doing is searching for by subject. I'm taking that first blue box on the home screen and I'm searching by subject. And it just said virtual. When I got down to careers, because I'm always interested in careers for my STEM kids, as I went down, you can see it says here, full video, Tundra Connections virtual field trip.
Okay, because I'm in Discovery Education. I don't I don't have that option. Is it because maybe I'm K5?
Quite possibly, but again, it's gonna be. You can always search for. I'll show you other ways to search for things, and you
Okay.
can just key in keyword virtual field trip.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
if I go back to my my all-star virtual field trip here, STEM careers in the MBA, and I know I want to use this later on. There's my buttons over here. This first one up here, it's add to quick list. This little bar right here is your quick list. Let's say you know you're going to want to use something relatively quickly. You can add it to your quick list and it pops it right up here. So for example, last year when I was doing the fire safety, I knew this was the video that I wanted to use, but I wasn't sure how I was going to use it, but I wanted to throw it in my quick list to make sure it was there. And I knew how to find it very easily. So now I've got it there in my quick list. I've added it. I can very easily remove it from my quick list, takes it right out. So when you're done using something, you can take it right out and it's there just kind of like a temporary thing. I can share this. I can obviously get a link to something. I can share it directly to my Google Classroom if I want to. So if I want to have them just watch a video, that's real quick. I can assign, which is this button's going to be more for once you have your Google, your classroom set up, your Discovery Classroom set up. There's also more I can use, create with my studio, add to my content, or I can download the video. Downloading the video is actually a great option if you know you're going to have a lot of students on at the same time. That puts it onto our servers so it doesn't go through the Discovery server and sometimes can cause a slowdown. Or it also allows you to embed it into other products. Maybe if you're using like a Go formative or something, you can download the video and now you have that MP4 file. You can put it into, say, a Google slide or something and utilize it in a different way that way. And that's just a real quick way to find some stuff. They also suggest more videos, anything along those lines. That's really the first that Discovery was known for, was their video series. Then they came up with this Discovery Education Network, and it became more than just videos. You can find, if you go to New York, you can find your next generation science standards or your 2016 learning standards whenever they may be updating those. You can search by that. But if I go back to subject and let's say I find something in the English language arts, there's obviously videos and segments, but they have other stuff as well. So if I'm going to click on language arts here, and again, I apologize for any delay as it goes through. You can see there's something here called a board, which we're going to talk about what these are. This is an experience that students go through. It's more than just a video. So if I click on this board, what it basically does is it takes me to an experience that the kids can go through. This is our overview, what the Tundra Connections virtual field trip is, experience with polar bears. It gives them an overview. If I go to the next board, it's almost polar bear time. The first thing it wants me to do is what's called a 6-word story. And a 6-word story is a learning strategy that they tell you about here, where students put things into a story using only 6 words. Then there's showtime. Here's my video on the polar bears. Then I can actually go to extend my learning. So this is something a teacher put together, or a person at Discovery Education put together. And it's an entire experience on this virtual field trip. It's more than just a video. It's actually got learning elements to it. Let's see here. Let's find another one we got here. Let's see. So they've mostly got videos. The reason why videos seem to pop up a lot is these are actually based on.
Hi, this is Jessica at Dr. Caruso's office. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
How do I mute that person?
I'm calling regarding Julia. She's set up to have an appointment with us on Monday the 19th for a retainer check.
Okay.
Are her retainers fitting okay?
She hasn't complained about it, so I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
But she would be the best.
Because we're doing the retainer checks virtually now, to where she doesn't need to actually come into the office. Dr. Caruso would just like her to
anyway,
pictures when he gets a chance to do that, and then he just takes a peek at them and we'll email her back whether she's good to go for another year or if there's a reason you might need to see her.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so now here we got, the reason why videos come up a lot is because this stuff is sorted based on popularity. Since a lot of people like to go to Discovery for their videos, you end up ending up with the most popular stuff up front is going to be videos. But here you can see we've got a song. There's a song on singing science. Earth goes around the sun. So it's a song that you can have the kids listen to in a science, and it's just a bunch of different stuff is out there. Just keep in mind that the most popular stuff is going to stay up to the top. If we go down to my content, your content is going to be stuff that you're going to upload to Discovery content for you later on use if you're creating a slide or if you're doing something like this. So here's a bunch of photos that I went and used for my presentation on fire safety. These photos were stuff that some of these stuff I found on Discovery Education and I added to my stuff. So I didn't have to keep searching for it. It was just automatically in here. Some stuff may have been stuff I uploaded from my computer. I believe most of this stuff is all stuff except for the song is everything I got from Discovery Education. The Stop, Drop, and Roll song is a song I actually downloaded from YouTube and added it to my content so I could help build things here. And the idea here is that you're going to create everything in either a studio or an assignment builder. So if I go to studio is where we're going to create boards, and boards are a large experience for students to go through and use as a platform for learning. Basically think of it as an interactive bulletin board or an interactive bulletin board or an interactive slideshow, stuff like that. Where did the one I make go earlier go? Here we go. All right, so here's one I started creating on the engineering process design. I've got a video, I've got what engineering is, I've got the engineering design process. I can go to the next board, which is actually, this is a whiteboard activity for the kids to start drawing things. I can have assignments, stuff like that. So that's the Studio Creator is something you want to play around with. Think of it as a bulletin board that you can put together with a whole bunch of interactive activities and just a place for kids to really get into and do learning at their own pace and in their own way. Another thing I really like about Discovery Education is the instructional strategies. Instructional strategies are things that help you teach the kids in certain ways. A lot of times especially with the next generation science standards, it wants them to cite evidence or it wants them to compare and contrast. So let's take a look at compare and contrast. If I jump in here, now there are all these different strategies on how students can compare and contrast. Myth busting, poetry slams, pause and play, paper slides. You'll notice over here, if I go to the plus button, it says subscribe instead of add to my quick list. If I hit subscribe and now go back to my home page, subscribing now puts it down here in my channels. So it knows that compare and contrast, instructional hooks, and cites evidence are things I'm really interested in. An instructional hook, how do I want to get students interested into the topic? Citing evidence, how do I want them to cite the evidence? Compare and contrast, how do I want them to compare and contrast? If we go into instructional hooks, which is one of my channels that I subscribe to, here's a bunch of different strategies on how to hook kids onto your topic. One that I found was really interesting was Spotlight My Strategy. Can you guess my 214? So let's go into this. If I click on this, what's my 214? It actually tells you, it gives you a video on what the 214 strategy is. Now the plus turns into add to your quick list because this is a very specific thing. And it tells you what the 241 strategy is all about. You're going to give them photos about the 241. Basically, it's a one set way of using this is you give two things, one thing, and then four things, and then you can try to guess how those are all connected. If you hit play here, they're real quick videos. And they take you through the whole steps of the 241 process. 214. And Tara Lee Gretton, she's introducing herself. And her 24. Can you guess my 214? So let's see if we can skip through this video. All right. So basically he's sharing 2 facts, 1 clue, and 4 pictures. And they have to try to guess where he is based on his 2 facts, his 1 clue, and his 4 pictures. So if you're doing something geography, if you're doing something about a museum or something, you can share 2 facts, 1 clue, and 4 pictures, and they have to try to guess that. And it gets them really thinking about the topic and gets them into thinking about what your topic. It really piques their interest, gets them going. And those are really nice especially if you're looking for new ways to introduce topics. The 2-1-4 is a really interesting way of doing that. So those instructional strategies are very, very helpful if you're looking for new ways to present things or new way to assess student growth. Those are all going to be found in your instructional strategies. So that really comes down to how do we start a classroom? How do we assign the stuff to students? You can download all the information and send it to your Google Classroom, which I found is probably the easiest way. If you want to take it to the next step, you can actually build a classroom in Google or in Discovery. Here you can go to My Classrooms, and we would want to actually build a classroom. So here I've got create a classroom. Let's say I'm going to call this period 1. Okay, and STEM class, let's call it. That doesn't really matter. The description is just more for the teacher. Now the list of students is actually populated from BOCES off of our school tool. So most of our students should be in there. So when I say most, I would say about 99% of our students are in there. I do know we had a new student added today. She's probably not in there, but if you ever have an issue where a student isn't showing up, just let me know. I have the administration ability to add that person because we have to kind of either send stuff to BOCES or we have to put them in individually to update them and get them into our classroom. But you can see all of our students should be in here. And it's really just a matter of when you find a student, you add them in, and they're going to use their Google sign in to sign into Discovery and get access to all the stuff that you have.
Rich,
And then when you,
where was that we could build a classroom? I missed
okay,
that.
so on the home screen, go into the Discovery, right here, the purple button that says Classrooms.
Okay.
And if you go to that classroom,
Okay, just create a classroom. Okay.
yep, all classrooms, create a classroom, and you should see it, the creation date, how many students are in it. You can also view, duplicate, archive. And I don't suggest ever doing the bulk reset passwords because right now it's set to their Google, so they can get onto via their Google. All right, and so that's basically how you're going to get kids into a Discovery classroom. So if you want to create assignments or studios and assign it directly to the Discovery classroom, you can do that. Right now, you have 2 options. You can download all the content you find on here and build something somewhere else and post it to your Google Classroom, or you can get everyone into a Discovery classroom and use the studio, use the assignment builder to push to students. What's really nice about having a Discovery classroom, so let's say I have this video here on COVID-19 solution seekers, you'll see that I've got the assign button, and if I click on that, it's going to ask when I want to do it. So let's say I want to do it today. When I want to do, the next button is to select my class, either my period 1 or my STEM 6 class. I click on that button. I can select which students I want and assign it. And now it's assigned to just my STEM 6 kids in a couple clicks of the button. So there's a little bit of front end work if you want to use Discovery Classroom, the Discovery Education Classroom, but it's faster to assign things. So there's your 2 options. Are you either building something somewhere else, just using their stuff, or are you going to create a classroom? What's nice about the Discovery Network is all these videos are vetted and built by Discovery, so you know that they are going to be appropriate. Basically, all you would want to do is view it just to see if it's something your kids would comprehend, or if you're going to use what you would use for an assessment, basically. So that is kind of Discovery really quick. It's something that I was just playing around with and kind of play around with it in the method that I found, that I demonstrated for you. Find a video or 2 first. Check around, find a video or 2. Then I would suggest check out the instructional strategies. Add a couple of instructional strategies to your, so subscribe to a couple of instructional strategies that sound like they're interesting to you. I suggest starting with the instructional hooks because the instructional hooks are fun 2 to 5 minute activities that you can do with the kids, and it's just a good practice to do that. Once you get into learning some of that stuff, you can get into joining events. You can, there's always teacher and support. Since we do subscribe to this, there's teacher support for you. There are teachers in the real world that are instructional leaders that will help you develop this stuff. There's always the help center. Once you get into comfortable downloading a couple videos and using some videos in class, go into finding some content and adding it to your content. Build 2 or 3 things together by putting it into your content folders. Finally, I would suggest try going to the studio and building a whiteboard or an assessment builder. Assessment builders think about like questions. So let's say I'm doing something, I'm creating an assessment on, I want to do practice assessment on cells. So if I want to make something cells, I can always display the assessment items in random order. So each kid gets his own thing. I want to add anything I find to my folder. And let's say I want to know about cell wall. I want to look for questions on the cell wall. There's 1,908 questions that have the cell wall and a plant cell blanks the cell. It provides support and protection. I would just add that to my question. Leaf cells have rigid cell walls of protection. So it's leaf, heart, lung, muscle. You're seeing here that, oh, these are all animal cells. That's a plant cell. That's the one that's got a cell wall. And there are all sorts of different random stuff. You can filter items by what they are. You can filter courses. Maybe I want more grade 3 with NGSS. So now I've got all three grade level 3 questions that align with NGSS. So the assessment builder can be really useful once you have a Discovery Education Network classroom. And it's really one of those things that you need to start playing around with. Find some videos, find some instructional strategies, play around and build some stuff. And if you think you're ready to jump into it, build yourself a classroom. Let me stop recording, and then if anybody has any questions, I will take the questions.